In 1971, Ford unveiled an engine so radical that it was banned before it could reach its full potential. The 351 Cleveland, packed with 330 horsepower, cammed valves screaming at 7,000 RPM, and a design that was meant to humiliate GM and Chrysler. This street-legal race engine quickly became a legend. But what if I told you that the story of Ford's greatest engine was far darker than anyone ever imagined? The Boss 351 Cleveland wasn't just another casualty of the muscle car wars. It was sabotaged by Ford itself. Behind closed doors, rising tensions, government crackdowns, and corporate shifts conspired to erase this powerhouse from history. What really happened to this incredible machine? In today's video, we're diving deep into the shocking truth behind Ford's banned 351 Cleveland engine. Be sure to watch until the end to find out more. Don't forget to follow Classic Cars Archive for more fascinating stories from automotive history. Cleveland's birth. By the late 1960s, the muscle car wars had reached a fever pitch, and Ford knew it needed to step up its game. While the Windsor small block engines had been solid performers, the racing world was advancing fast, and Ford had to come up with something bolder, more powerful, and more efficient to stay ahead of the competition. Enter the 351 Cleveland. This wasn't just another engine. It was a revolution in small block performance. Launched in 1970, the Cleveland was born out of both necessity and innovation. Ford's Windsor engine plant in Canada was struggling to keep up with demand, so they set up a new facility in Cleveland, Ohio. This move allowed engineers to completely rethink and redesign the 351 from the ground up. They tapped into lessons learned from motorsports, incorporating high-performance technology that would give the Cleveland engine an edge both on the street and the track. What made the Cleveland stand out were its cylinder heads. It came in two distinct versions: the two V-heads, designed for low-end torque and better fuel efficiency. These featured smaller intake and exhaust ports, making them perfect for street applications. Then there were the four V-heads, inspired by Ford's big block V8s, featuring larger high-flow ports and cammed valves. This setup allowed for massive high RPM airflow, making the Cleveland a beast on the track and in high-performance builds. These innovations made the Cleveland engine both larger and heavier than its Windsor counterpart. And while they may have looked similar externally, the internals were a different story. Many of the components were incompatible between the two. This new small block wasn't just another engine. It was Ford's bold declaration that they were no longer playing catch-up. They were ready to take over the horsepower wars. Evolution and performance variants. When the 351 Cleveland first hit the market, it came in two primary versions, each designed with a different purpose in mind. The standard two-barrel 2V model was all about fuel efficiency and delivering strong, low RPM torque. It featured open combustion chambers, making it an ideal choice for everyday driving. This engine variant offered a more efficient fuel burn at lower RPMs, providing solid performance without sacrificing gas mileage. It was a great option for those seeking a balance of power and economy without pushing the limits of performance. But the real showstopper was the four-barrel 4V variant, built for performance enthusiasts. The 4V came with larger, high-flow ports and cammed valves, making it ideal for those craving high-performance power. In its early models, 1970 to 1971, it featured closed quench combustion chambers, designed to deliver more power by ensuring a more complete fuel burn at higher RPMs. However, to comply with tightening emissions regulations, later models would switch to open combustion chambers to maintain performance while adhering to the growing environmental standards. Between 1970 and 1971, Ford found itself in an all-out horsepower war with GM and Chrysler. To take on the competition, Ford introduced a beast unlike anything the world had seen, the Boss 351 Cleveland. This engine was a true powerhouse, with radical cammed valve heads, high compression internals, and a screaming solid lifter cam paired with an Autolite carb 0359. It stood in stark contrast to GM's LS6 and Chrysler's Hemi. The Boss 351 wasn't just fast, it was ferocious. Aimed at dominating road racing, the Boss 351 Mustang was lighter, sharper, and far more aggressive than anything else in its class. It didn't just compete with the best, it shattered expectations. Bobby Allison famously recalled a 1971 race where the 351 out-revved everything on the track. But even with its 330 horsepower, which was likely underrated, the engine's success came with its own set of challenges. Ford's golden age of muscle was under siege as rising costs. New government regulations, skyrocketing insurance rates, and the looming oil crisis all squeezed the high-performance car market. Unfortunately, the writing was on the wall, and just like that, the Boss 351's reign was cut short, a casualty of both internal struggles and external pressures. Dominance and drama, 1971 to 1972. The 351 Cleveland was a force to be reckoned with, not just on the street, but also in the world of motorsports. NASCAR teams, including Bud Moore's squad, saw the potential of the Cleveland engine, particularly on short tracks. Bud Moore's team used the Cleveland engines to great effect, battling rivals and dodging protests from teams who couldn't keep up. Meanwhile, the debate over 4 V-heads versus Chevy's peanut port design added more drama to an already intense competition. What made the 351 Cleveland so special? Enter the Boss 351, a high-performance version of the Cleveland that truly pushed the limits of small-block V8 technology. In 1971, Ford released the Boss 351, a version of the Cleveland engine that was engineered specifically for road racing dominance. It featured high-flow cammed valve 4V heads that allowed for massive air intake, helping it breathe better at high RPMs. The engine was also equipped with a solid lifter camshaft that gave it an aggressive profile for more power at higher revolutions. The aluminum intake manifold and Autolite 4300-D 4-barrel carburetor helped maximize the engine's performance. The Boss 351 had a formidable 11.0 to 1 compression ratio, which paired perfectly with its forged internals, making it a reliable beast that could take on anything in its way. The engine was rated at 330 horsepower at 5,400 RPM. But many believe the real-world figures were even higher. It also produced 370 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 revolutions per minute, delivering plenty of power on demand. To ensure the engine could handle high RPMs for extended periods, Ford included a 6-quart oil pan and cast aluminum valve covers, allowing the engine to stay cool and reliable during high-speed racing. The Boss 351 made a huge impact during its short production run, cementing its place in Ford's muscle car legacy as one of the most potent engines ever built.
Bertram's engine blown up. However, the biggest moment of the race,
Cobra Jet. Between 1971 and 1974, Ford released the 351 Cobra Jet CJ, a version of the Cleveland engine aimed at high-performance street applications. while the Boss 351 was all about dominating the track. The Cobra Jet was designed with a more street-friendly focus. Unlike the Boss 351, the Cobra Jet featured a hydraulic lifter camshaft, making it less aggressive, but much more practical for everyday driving. Additionally, it came equipped with a Holley 750 CFM carburetor, replacing the Autolite carb used in the Boss version. To meet the tightening emissions regulations of the time, the Cobra Jet utilized open-chamber 4 V heads, which offered better efficiency but sacrificed some of the high-performance characteristics of the earlier 4 V setup. The Cobra Jet had compression ratios ranging from 8.5 to 1 to 9.0 to 1, depending on the model year. Initially, it was rated at 280 horsepower, but as emissions standards grew stricter, Ford had to gradually lower the engine's power output to comply with new regulations. Despite this, the 351 Cobra Jet still offered impressive performance for street use, combining power and reliability with a focus on practicality. However, there's often confusion surrounding the Cobra Jet name. Ford never officially produced a Super Cobra Jet version for the 351 Cleveland, even though many enthusiasts have mistakenly referred to their modified engines as such. As the years passed, some later 351 Cleveland engines, post-1972, were marketed with Cobra Jet badging, further muddying the waters. Ford's loose use of the Cobra Jet label led many hot rodders to mix and match parts, such as swapping Cleveland heads with Windsor blocks, creating what became known as Claver engines. This blending of parts and badging caused plenty of confusion and debate in the muscle car community over what truly constituted a Cobra Jet. Here's the shocking truth. The Cobra Jet name carries serious weight, but it's often misapplied to any modified 351 engine, leading to confusion among enthusiasts. Next time someone claims to have a 351 Cobra Jet Boss, give them a smile and ask, is it a Cleveland, a Windsor, or a parts bin special? The true Cobra Jet is more than just a label. It represents a specific level of performance, and not every modified engine can lay claim to that legacy. The 351 Cleveland's role in NASCAR. The 351 Cleveland didn't just dominate the streets, it also made a significant impact in the world of NASCAR, especially during the 1970s and 1980s. Rivalries were fierce, with drivers like Bobby Allison and Richard Petty battling over the best Fords, and the Cleveland engine played a pivotal role in this rivalry. Known for its superior high RPM efficiency, the Cleveland became a top choice for short track and road course racing, where high-revving engines were essential for success. While Ford's larger 429 big block engines were the weapon of choice for superspeedway events. Teams like Bud Moore's number 15 Torino were among the first to experiment with the Cleveland, seeing its potential on more technical tracks. Famous drivers such as Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough occasionally relied on the Cleveland for select races, taking advantage of its unique performance characteristics. In fact, Ford spies even infiltrated Chevy's plans, only to laugh at their inferior heads, knowing that the Cleveland had the upper hand. Cleveland-powered NASCAR engines were heavily modified for competition, with custom high-lift camshafts, reinforced pistons and rods, and precision-tuned heads, all part of the upgrades that made these engines race-ready. The Cleveland's design was simply too good to ignore, and some Australian-cast 351 Cleveland blocks continued to race in NASCAR well into the 1990s, cementing the Cleveland as a force that lasted far beyond its original production years. As the 351st Cleveland's reign in professional racing came to a quiet end, it marked not just the fall of a legendary engine, but also the shifting tides of an entire era of automotive performance. By 1973, the forces of rising gas prices, strict emissions laws, and the skyrocketing costs of muscle cars sealed the fate of many high-performance engines, including the once mighty Boss 351. Ford's banned 351 and other banned engines like it were casualties of a changing industry. The 1966 Ford Fairlane, a symbol of the muscle car era, had paved the way for engines like the Cleveland. But as regulations grew stricter, even these powerful machines couldn't avoid the inevitable. Ford, however, was always thinking ahead, perhaps setting the stage for something even greater in the years to come. The true story of the Cleveland's demise is layered with industry changes, corporate decisions, and the unpredictable future of American muscle. What do you think? Was the Cleveland's downfall simply due to regulations, or was Ford planning for the next big thing all along? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and share. If you love learning about the history of legendary cars like the 351 Cleveland, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories.